Going live in 15 minutes. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It is March 3rd, 9 a.m. Eastern. We have the S&P 500 here seeing that weakness yesterday. What stood out was the close at the low of the day, which we haven't really seen in 2017. So we saw that weak close. We're seeing a little bit of downside here pre-market. Potential for a small gap down open doesn't look like it would be significant at this point. And the high of pre-market that the bulls have to get above is 238.31 in order to break this little lower high 5-minute pattern that we currently have forming. What I'm going to be watching today that is going to be our gauge of strength, so to speak, is this 100-hour moving average support. We have bounced off this 100-hour moving average the last two times we tested it, back on February 24th and again on February 28th. So that level's at 237.39. You can see after that breakout that we had following the presidential address that the consolidation has been fairly normal and healthy at this point. If we lose the 100 period moving average, then we'll look for further consolidation. That will be an indication to be looking to the gap on the daily time frame at 236.95. So that's a key hourly moving average support. That is the support that I'm going to be watching today and checking in on the daily time frame. There is that gap right there at 236.95. So the close at the low of the day, bear volume is not scaring the bulls at this point. It's really just a drop in the bucket compared to the bull volume we've been seeing. So watching to see how the price reacts to the 100 period hourly support and how we react if we do get down to filling this gap at 236.95. The weekly time frame is potentially forming a bearish candlestick today. If we see a red day today, it's going to be a bearish reversal inverted hammer on the weekly time frame at the top of an uptrend, which will indicate the potential for further weakness next week. You can see the last 5 weeks in a row, we've closed up at the high of the week with a lack of upper wick showing profit taking. We have not seen a weekly close since back at the end of December. So all of 2017, every single weekly close has been up near the high of the range of the week, and there's potential of that not to occur this week. So watching today and how that weekly candlestick is going to shape up is going to be fairly important. Checking in on the dollar, we're seeing some downside, and we've been watching commodities get crushed the past couple of days. Natural gas got crushed first, and then we had gold get crushed next, and then yesterday we had oil and silver get crushed, and that's with a strong dollar. The dollar has been really strong the past 5 days in a row. So we have a bearish candlestick forming, doing some consolidation after that bullish move to the upside. The hourly time frame on the dollar is pulling back a little bit with a lower high and a lower low, and we're looking at key support short term of 101.53. So gold is attempting to see an oversold bounce with that dollar weakness, but they're not doing a good job at this point. I've got a couple of downtrend resistance line, the first one being the steepest that we just rejected from, and then the next one which is hitting the more major lower highs that we've been seeing. So watching to see if the bulls can get over these levels, but as of right now, they are still struggling, and the bears are still in control of gold. The RSI has been hovering around oversold on the hourly for quite some time, and the 4-hour RSI on gold is now right down just above 30 as well. So we do have a bullish reversal candlestick on the 4-hour time frame. It's an inside candlestick as well on gold, so we'll have to see that get a bullish break to the upside. But at this point, we are not seeing the kind of reaction that the gold bulls would hope for on that dollar weakness. And new resistance on gold is 1231.68. Bulls must get over that level today in hopes of really trying to form a bullish reversal candlestick. And the bears have been in full control of gold the past couple of days. Silver had that all-out dump yesterday and is trying to see an oversold bounce play out as well. The RSI is just coming off of 30 on the hourly time frame, but if the bulls can't break 1783, silver is still forming lower highs and still very weak. So 1783 is the level for the bulls to break today to try and form an oversold bounce. We have the 4-hour silver oversold RSI as well, bullish reversal candlestick as well, needs to be confirmed, and the bulls must break 1783 to see some upside on that oversold bounce today. Natural gas bulls are continuing with some higher lows and higher highs. We had the bearish reaction to the inventory report yesterday, but the bulls bought that dip, and then natural gas did just get a higher high here, but we're seeing an upper wick of profit taking on this hourly candlestick. So the daily time frame turned that 10-day moving average into support, and now it's trying to backtest and hold that 10-day moving average and see this oversold bounce continue to play out. We've got our bullish MACD cross, so I'd say the key support the bulls want to maintain moving forward is 273 to keep the higher low pattern going. Resistance is 284 and 2913. And oil, we have oil with a dump yesterday. Very weak here on oil as well. I've got a key uptrend support line on the daily time frame to be watching, and we bounced off this level 3 times, and here we are testing it yet again. Oversold bounce is underway, but it's a weak bounce at this point. So the bulls on oil have to get above 52.90 for this to be more than just a little quick oversold bounce, and then we'd be looking up at 53.22. But as of right now, we're just trading sideways, and there's potential for this to be a bear flag before continuation to the downside. The 4-hour RSI hovering just above oversold, but again, need to see follow through to the upside, and we have a previous support level that's now acting as resistance, and need to look on the 4-hour time frame. 52.74. We bounced off that level 3 times back in mid-February. We lost it yesterday, and now we are back testing and rejecting from 52.74. So also keeping an eye on that level because the bulls are clearly struggling to get back over that previous support, now resistance. So oil, pretty much every commodity is doing their best to form a bullish reversal candlestick, although natural gas is a bit more ahead of the game, so to speak, in its oversold bounce playing out. Keeping an eye on copper, we've got a shrinking range of lower highs and higher lows. The range right now is 263 to 275, and the bulls are looking to form a higher low compared to 263 and continue to see this range tighten up, and we could be drawing a nice pennant pattern here on copper with those higher lows and lower highs, and we could see this shrinking range is likely to break fairly early next week, I would say. That's where the pennant would be on the daily time frame, and that will be a nice pattern to watch play out. Bitcoin, all-time high, seeing an upper wick the past 2 days, so potential that we do see normal healthy consolidation following a 3-day big-time bull breakout to those all-time highs. If we see some further weakness today, it will be a bearish reversal inverted hammer, and we'll look for a red day over the weekend on Saturday to confirm it, which again would be normal healthy consolidation. The Bitcoin bulls are in absolute full control. So some plays that I'm going to be watching today. NVDA was a really nice bear for us yesterday. Lots of volatility, a close at the low of the day on an increase in volume. And we know Netflix was a really nice bear for us as well, as we finally got a break from this tight range. We've been watching this middle Bollinger Band support for 2 weeks, waiting for volume and volatility to pick up, and that happened yesterday in a big way. So keeping an eye on Netflix as well, and also GoPro. I've been harping on GoPro about the potential of what's going to happen when the market consolidates. If the GoPro bulls are struggling to see upside in the most favorable market conditions we've seen in a very long time, what's going to happen when the market consolidates? Well, GoPro is going to go down, and that's what's happening now. We had that weakness, and now we have a downgrade coming out, and we're going to see a gap down open on GoPro. Bears are taking back over, and we're keeping an eye on the all-time low down at 854, especially if the market consolidation lasts more than just a couple of days here. So checking in on some 5-minute setups you all want to look at. And we're going to start with BWLD and NTNX. So BWLD, been pointing out that weekly pattern. At this point, don't need to go into depth into that. We're looking at the 100 period and the 200 period on that weekly time frame, dictating the range that we've been in for the past couple of months. So we're right in the middle of that range currently with this week, and we're pretty tight on the daily time frame as well. The 200-day moving average support is 153.16. The bulls want to keep holding that level, and the bulls need to see a break of 157.50 in order to be heading back towards the upside, breaking the daily lower high pattern. So very tight on the weekly, very tight on the daily, and the weekly time frame, we could stay within these ranges for another month or so. So there's no rush on that break on the weekly time frame occurring, but the range I'm watching right now on the daily is 153.16 support and 157.50 resistance. And we don't have any pre-market information to be going off of, but with the weekday yesterday, we have a few resistance levels that we can pick out, looking at 155.65 as the first resistance on BWLD that the bulls would need to get above. NTNX pre-market here saw some weakness, little oversold bounce is trying to play out on NTNX. We've got the 20-period 5-minute moving average support of 25.02. The first 5-minute moving average resistance would be 26.91. Big time gap down here, and looking back at previous support, I'm looking at 24.80 as a little double bottom back in mid-December. So 24.80 is a key level to hold. The low pre-market is 23.98. So we'll see if the bulls can hold 24.80 during regular trading. If we keep this 20-period moving average, that support will hold. And if we lose it, we're looking down at the low pre-market of 23.98. So this oversold bounce is already playing out a little bit. We've already seen a 4% move to the upside, 4% plus here in pre-market. So we do need to keep that in mind, that the RSI levels are cooling off here pre-market. And keeping an eye on the hourly time frame and these exponential moving average resistances, currently rejecting the bounce attempt a couple times. We'll see if the bulls can get over those levels for a more significant bullish recovery. So NVDA, that bearish play we were watching yesterday, and the bulls are pretty oversold here on the hourly time frame. We're coming off of oversold here pre-market. I'm looking at resistance of 99.40, and then we've got the 20-period hourly just below 100 psychological. So a couple resistances just below 100 psychological resistance. We had the close right near the low of the day yesterday. That was down at 98.89, so a little gap down open is coming. We just need to be cautious. If we're looking to initiate bearish positions at this point, we need to be aware that the hourly RSI is close to oversold, but clearly the bears have a strong hold on NVDA the past couple of days. And if we see a move to the upside, the gap will fill at 98.89. I would expect to see that gap filled fairly early on this morning. AKS, so steel, seeing a bit of a sell-off past couple of days. Resistance is 841, support is 835. And checking the daily time frame, we know AKS has been weaker than X. We closed at the low of the day yesterday, 827. So we're seeing a higher open. I'm looking at resistance on the daily time frame up at 884 is the next key resistance that the bulls need to break a little bit of a lower high pattern that's starting to form. So 884 resistance and 827 support. And we have a bunch of other resistance levels in between there to be looking at, 841, 856 on the 5-minute time frame, and we have hourly resistances, 844 and 850. So there's all kinds of moving average resistances on the 5-minute and the hourly time frame as the bulls are going to try to recover here a bit. And if we reject from this 100 period, which we did pre-market here already at 844, if we can't get over that level, the bears will remain in control and we'll be looking down at the low of yesterday, 827. So Netflix had that dump yesterday and closed very weak. We're looking at resistance of 140.02. The low of yesterday was 139.09, and that did hold support. The next support we were looking at was 139.05. So we held that by 4 pennies, and we're seeing a little bit of a higher open so far this morning. That hourly time frame, the RSI was very oversold. After hours, we got all the way down to an 18 hourly RSI. So we're seeing a little bit of an oversold bounce try and play out. I'm looking at resistance of 140 psychological and then 140.49. If the bulls can break 140.49, that was the high of the bounce attempt yesterday, so that would be a little bit of a higher high, but the 20-period hourly resistance is going to be below that level as we approach it. So a couple key resistances in the mid-140s, and the bulls are going to have to get above those levels to prove any kind of strength. Otherwise, this is just an hourly oversold bounce, and we'll look for the bears to remain in control. So checking in on X, the other steel name that we follow here, we've got pre-market moving average support on the 5-minute is 37.65 and 37.63. The low of pre-market is down at 37.39. We had a low of the day close as well yesterday, 37.24, but again, a higher open is coming. So if we can keep these 5-minute moving averages, the bulls will look for this little oversold bounce on the hourly to continue to play out. And we are seeing the exponential moving averages becoming support. 20-period hourly resistance is 38.13. That's going to be just below $38 as we head into the open, and that's going to be the first major resistance to be looking at. So again, everything, we're seeing a couple names here, Netflix and X. These are oversold hourly bounces, and the bulls have to prove to us it's more than that by getting over these hourly moving average resistances on these bounces. So XLK finally seeing some consolidation yesterday, and yesterday the driving force to the downside in the S&P 500 was the financial sector. The financial sector saw pretty much twice as much pullback as the technology sector, but the technology sector did still close near the low of the day, 52.71. If we break 52.71, we're looking at 52.55, and we could see a bearish break, losing all 5-minute moving average supports before the end of the day yesterday, and the hourly support is down at 52.46. So the bears do still have control of the technology sector. They're going to have to get over 52.88 to turn all hourly moving averages back into support, but that was just day number 1 of consolidation yesterday. And again, if we break 52.71 this morning, we will look for further consolidation, as it will be a bearish break and continuation of that candlestick from yesterday, which was an inside candlestick on the daily time frame. So Apple has been seeing a bit of correlation with that technology sector, a pretty similar candlestick on the daily chart yesterday. 138.76 was the low of yesterday, so we have a gap down open coming. Apple seeing a bit more weakness than this technology sector overall, but we're looking down at support here. There's a little gap on Apple at 137.44, so that's a potential target for the bears to be looking at in the short term. 137.44, that lines up right near the 100-period hourly support of 137.60. So we had a bearish break yesterday. The exponential hourly resistances are driving the price to the downside, and that is the next support to be looking at, 137.60. along with 137.59, the low of Wednesday. So a couple levels lining up in the mid $37 range, and we are seeing weakness on the 5-minute here pre-market on Apple. PANW, bulls in full control here. Oversold bounce trying to continue to play out. We had a double bottom at 115, looking at resistance of 117.78, the high of yesterday. And if we break that level, we're looking up at some psychological levels, 118, 119, because the high of the previous day was all the way up at 121. So the PANW oversold bounce playing out a little bit more significantly. We have the hourly 20-period moving average as support after rejecting from it yesterday. So that support is 116.05. Lots of space to the upside. Keep an eye on PANW for this oversold bounce to play out. And breaking that high of yesterday would be a nice start to the day. GNC also very strong and looking like a gap up open is coming here. High of yesterday was 819. Lower high pattern. The bulls want to break 923, so still a lot of work to do even with this strong move pre-market. We have our higher low in place now on the daily time frame, and the bulls are trying to get this higher high over 923. But the weekly chart is very bearish, trying to get an oversold bounce on the weekly time frame. So definitely worth keeping an eye on GNC. You can see this, all this bull move is really in one hourly candlestick. So we need to get some confirmation with the first 15 minutes of trading that we're not going to see a lot of profit taking with this gap up open, because this weekly chart again has been very bearish. And the bulls have to get above 923 as step number 1 to try and see the weekly oversold bounce play out. So it'll be interesting to see if in the first 15 minutes whether or not the bulls prove to us that they can hold this gap up and they're not just going to see a bunch of profit taking in a very bearish overall trend. XOM 83.35 support, 83.65 resistance. XOM had a rejection from the daily upper Bollinger Band resistance yesterday and formed a bearish reversal inverted hammer. So we need to be looking at that inverted hammer and potential for it to be confirmed towards the downside. So keeping an eye on the low of yesterday, 82.79. That will be the next level we look at if we lose this 5-minute moving average of 83.36. So a big upper wick on XOM has us cautious bullish, but that weekly time frame is looking good if we can close above 83.25. That's the 200-week moving average. It rejected the last bounce attempt 2 weeks ago. We have a big bullish reversal candlestick on the weekly this week, and a close over 83.25 will be looking good for the bulls heading into next week as well. So XOM still on watch for the bulls. Daily time frame indicating some consolidation may be coming, but that weekly time frame with that close over the 200-week moving average would be a nice indication of follow-through potential for next week. SRPT has all 5-minute moving averages as support, 33.11 and 32.73. Similar scenario yesterday with a big upper wick of profit taking and a close right at the upper Bollinger Band. So the high of yesterday, 34.33 was resistance, and we are seeing a significantly higher open than where we closed yesterday. So the bulls are going to be battling that daily upper Bollinger Band again. You need to update that level at the open to watch to see if the bulls can get over it. And the key level and the goal for the bulls today is 33.95. That's the middle Bollinger Band resistance on the weekly time frame. We have rejected from that level twice in the past couple of months. We're building a base of support with a lot of moving average support in the 27s on the weekly, but we still have a lower high pattern. It's a bit of a descending triangle pattern. Must get over that middle Bollinger Band. Otherwise, it's going to just reject the price again, and we're going to be watching a tightening range between those moving average supports in the 27s and that dropping, descending middle Bollinger Band on the weekly, 33.95 currently, and will be lower next week. So definitely worth keeping an eye on this weekly time frame. I like the setup. It's going to give us a nice clear break. Just might not happen this week if we can't get over that middle Bollinger Band. CAT. So CAT had that bearish news yesterday, and the bulls are trying to get over 94.07 here on the 5-minute time frame to see some upside and some oversold bounce play out. We did see a decent lower wick, all things considered, yesterday. The high of that bounce attempt yesterday was 94.94. So the bulls must break 94.94 to see a little higher low and a higher high on the hourly time frame on this oversold bounce. We need to be aware that it is an oversold bounce and the bears are in control. And if we can get above 94.94, the 20-period 5-minute moving average resistance will come right after that. And it's actually the 20-period hourly resistance, 95.45 and dropping. So keep an eye on the cat bulls. 94.94 will be a key test to see if the bulls can get over that level. Otherwise, it's just another lower high on the hourly time frame. CC, very weak day yesterday. Bears in control all day as lower highs and lower lows were very clear. Close near the low of the day, 33.41. If we break that level, 33.24, 32.09. 32.09 is the key level the bulls want to hold to keep the higher low pattern on the daily time frame alive. At this point, it's normal healthy consolidation that is ongoing, but the weekly time frame is looking a little bit toppy. There's a gap on the weekly at 28.36, so we could be in for some further consolidation. Volume has been very low for the bears on the daily time frame at this point, but we have a bearish MACD cross following through. We're on the verge of a bearish TCG cross, and if we see another red day with more than 1.7 million shares traded today, that would be a red flag that we are going to head down to test at least 32.09 support. So the bears have a bit of momentum. Our lower high was set on the daily time frame on Wednesday, and now we're heading down to see if we can hold 32.09 support. Already did XBAC. So like I said, the financial sector was one of the main driving forces to the downside yesterday, but BAC held up better than the sector overall. So BAC support is 25.20, and we're seeing a higher open this morning, battling the last 5-minute moving average resistance of 25.38. If we can turn that level into support early on first thing, and this hourly 20 period of 25.36, if we can turn those moving averages into support in the first 5 to 15 minutes of trading, the bulls will have some decent momentum on a nice recovery. So BAC holding up better than most individual banking names. 25.20 is a must-hold support. Otherwise, we continue to fill the gap down to 24.62, and the bulls are at a key hourly and 5-minute moving average resistance as we head into the morning. LITE, 46.19 support, 46.76 resistance. And looking at the daily time frame, a big upper wick of profit taking yesterday and a back test and rejection from the middle Bollinger Band, previous support, now resistance at 46.64. So that middle Bollinger Band is now a key level to be watching as resistance. Support is 45.55 and then must hold 44.75. The bulls really want to hold 44.75, otherwise we're heading back down to the low $40 level. So LITE still in control of the bulls if we can hold 44.75, but after that weak day yesterday, we do need to be cautious as all hourly moving averages are resistance. We've rejected from these hourly moving averages both yesterday and pre-market now. 46.87 needs to become support on the hourly for the bulls to have any kind of momentum. That's going to be the first moving average resistance to be watching on LITE. PSX 78.71, 78.94 resistances on the 5-minute time frame. The bears have been struggling at the 200-day moving average resistance of 79.34 the past few days, and the bears came out on top yesterday with a weak close down at 78.16. If we break 78.16, 77.69 is the next level to be looking at. So very clearly, the bulls have a lot of work to do on that daily time frame. And personally, if I did not have a position on PSX, I would not be getting into it as a bull unless that 200-day moving average became support and held as support. We did close above it once, it looks like, in the past month, but couldn't hold it on a back test. So that's a very clear resistance level driving the price to the downside that the bulls have been struggling with. The bears want to see a break of 78.16 and 77.69. PCLN, it's make or break day for PCLN. We're either going to see a new all-time high or we're going to lose the upper Bollinger Band daily support level. So we have to update that upper Bollinger Band at the open. It's going to be in the upper 1730s. And if we close, or if we lose that level and close below it, we're looking at 1726, 1720, and 1700 as the next three support levels. So if the bulls can keep that upper Bollinger Band support, that means we are most likely going to see a new all-time high. We have a double top at 1748 and 1747, 2 of the past 3 days. So again, it's a make or break day for PCLN. And we're either going to be heading into next week with new all-time highs or a loss of the upper Bollinger Band, indicating that normal healthy consolidation is coming after that big-time breakout we saw on the backs of earnings. TWLO, all 5-minute moving averages are resistance of 30.96. So we had that weak close yesterday, and we took out a couple key support levels on the daily time frame at 31.33 and 31.01. So the low of yesterday was 30.79. Potential little gap down open here, and now it's up to the 50-day moving average to hold in the 30.30s. And this is going to be a rejection if we don't see a big-time recovery today. It's going to be another rejection from the weekly middle Bollinger Band for the 3rd week in a row. And we have to keep in mind the weekly time frame is still a lower high pattern, so the bears are still in control on the weekly chart. We need that middle Bollinger Band as support, and then we need to break 35.15 to break the lower high pattern. And right now, this is not the kind of reaction the bulls are looking for to that weekly middle Bollinger Band resistance as it rejects the price yet again. So JNUG trying to see this oversold bounce play out again, and again, we need to anticipate that every bounce in these miners and gold is an oversold short-term bounce. We're going to be looking at the lower Bollinger Band daily resistance on JNUG. Have to update that at the open. It's going to be in the upper 690s, upper 600 or $6, I should say. Key hourly resistance is the 20-period moving average. It rejected the price yesterday on the bounce attempt. That's at 673. If the bulls cannot get over that hourly 20-period, we know they don't have much strength at all. In terms of support, we're looking at 620 and then 596, the low of pre-market. So all about the hourly 20-period moving average resistance and as to whether or not the bulls can get over that level and see this bounce play out more than just a short-term oversold bounce. Dust bulls is the opposite. They want to hold the hourly 20-period support of 36.66. That's going to be the key support test. The low pre-market is 37.11, and the bulls have to break 38.92 to see continuation to the upside. So the dust bulls do have momentum. We're watching normal healthy consolidation at this point, normal short-term oversold bounce on JNUG and bull miners at this point, and the 20-period hourly moving average is going to let us know the strength. Dries, you know my opinion on dries. I wouldn't be anywhere near this play bullish. It's just you look at this chart, and if you're trying to play dries bullish, the odds of you being successful, I would give it a 10% chance just because the overall chart is trying to... It's just a giant bear. So essentially, if you're playing against the trend, and that's viewed as swimming upstream, this would be trying to swim up a raging rapid. This is a very bearish name. I see this chart, and this tells me that the history of dries is going to be filled with reverse splits and further dilution. This is a dead stock as far as I'm concerned. We saw it with SUNE months ago. Doing my best to ring the alarm on getting out of that name, and dries is the exact same scenario. Bulls want nothing to do with this name. Bounces are short-lived and very tough to capture that profit, and we are seeing the potential. Let's see, the all-time low was 157 yesterday. Seeing a slight higher open, bulls have to break 241 to even do anything. So we need a 50% move to even be looking at the price we were at 2 days ago. I really would not be playing this name bullish. It's been a great name to play bearish, but this is just something I would stay away from. Anyways, the higher pre-market is 175 resistance, looking at support of 161 and 155. Netflix could have further downside. We need to be watching for the hourly time frame and this oversold bounce. And it's all about 140.49. If we can't break 140.49 on Netflix, it's just another lower high on the hourly time frame. LABD had a complete turnaround on the daily chart yesterday after the biotech bulls were strong in the morning and then dumped in the afternoon. So it's a bullish reversal hammer on the daily time frame for LABD. Bulls want to break 1028, and then we're looking up at 1077 as the next resistance. Keeping in mind the overall daily trend is bearish on LABD, so we're going to be looking at this to be just a short-term bounce. And after 1077, we're looking at the hourly 100-period resistance of 1102. So the LABD bulls trying to confirm the bullish reversal hammer from yesterday. OWCP bears have been in control. 145 is a double bottom low on the daily chart. That's a must-hold level. If we break 145, the bears assume strong control. We closed at the low of the day yesterday, so it's all about 145 support. Potential bottom fishing level from that area if we were to be oversold on the 5-minute time frame as we approached it. But today is all about that support level. Not much else to be watching on OWCP for support besides 151 and 145, the must hold. HTGM 278 is the last 5-minute moving average support. Bulls need to hold that level. Otherwise, we're going to be looking down. Checking the daily time frame. So looking like we're reaching a bit of an equilibrium after the breakout. Resistance is 350. Support is 247. So if we lose 278, the last 5-minute moving average support, we're looking down at 247. And a break of 247, we'd be looking at the 200-day moving average of 235. So a lot of back and forth with the upper Bollinger Band the past couple of days, but we did lose that upper Bollinger Band yesterday. So the bears have a bit of momentum, and we're watching 270, the low of the day. The bulls need to hold that level. Otherwise, it's down to 247. In terms of resistance, 284 and then 294 are the two 5-minute moving average resistances to be watching first. Facebook, 136.69, 5-minute moving average resistance, and then 136.96. Checking the daily time frame, Facebook bulls have been in control overall, hitting a new all-time high yesterday, but we need to be cautious of consolidation in the market and the technology sector. 136.61, the low, make that 136.31, the low of yesterday, is the first support level, and then we're looking down at 134.75. The hourly time frame is losing The 20-period moving average, we're in a channel on the hourly, 136.05 support, 136.89 resistance. I would be watching this hourly channel to see how we break from that channel as it's going to continue to tighten the first few hours of trading today. Checking back in with SPY as we head into the open. And the SPY bulls are trying to break that 238.31 level, the high of pre-market. And we're going to be opening pretty much right at the low of yesterday. So DDD, here pre-market, we've got resistance of 1486 and then up to 1508. DDD has been in control of the bears with a close down near the low of the day yesterday, 1459, so a potential little gap down open is coming. The next support on the daily time frame is 1432 and 1407. It's worth scouting for a bullish reversal candlestick on the daily time frame, but we have to get above the hourly 20 period for the bulls to have any kind of momentum. 1479 is that resistance, and we rejected from that hourly 20 period yesterday on the bounce attempt. So updating PCLN and that upper Bollinger Band first thing this morning. And it is currently at... Chart hasn't updated yet. But we're seeing a bit of weakness on PCLN. 17... Oh, here we go. It's at... The low of yesterday was 1731 on PCLN, so we are testing that low of yesterday, but we have a very wide bid and ask spread until we see the market makers settle things down a little bit, so need to always watch the first 5-10 minutes of PCLN to watch how those market makers tighten that bid in the ask. So as of right now, the financial sector is up slightly, technology sector is down slightly, and the overall market is down slightly as well. GoPro is seeing that weakness due to the downgrade. We're watching 913 and 912 support on GoPro, close below those levels today. We'll continue to show the bears in control. And pretty contained right now in terms of the action we're seeing, fairly leveled out, but NVDA is dumping again. Bears are in full control of NVDA, and we're heading back down. We're looking at the next support level on the daily time frame is down at the 95s. NVDA, the lowest price on consolidation, 95.70. So here we are dumping again. The hourly RSI is quickly oversold, and the 5-minute RSI is getting there as well. But the bears are very clearly in control of NVDA the past 2 days, and certainly strong to start today for that downside momentum. Trying to get this PCLN upper Bollinger Band data updated. Not sure why my daily chart for PCLN is not updating yet. SQ is pulling back further. We are scouting a bullish entry, but we need a bullish reversal candlestick on the daily time frame at a bare minimum. So right now, the support level to be watching is 1632, and if we break that level, we begin filling the gap on the daily time frame. So the bulls really want to hold 1632. We've got hourly support, nothing nearby as we just lost the hourly 100 period. So this is normal, healthy consolidation following that blue sky breakout, which was very strong for the bulls. And again, I do like a bullish entry once we get some bullish reversal signals on the daily time frame. Amazon pretty stagnant right around the close where we're currently trading. We've got resistance of 849.47. Low of yesterday was 847.28, and we did break that level first thing. Hourly resistances looking at 849.61 and 850.32. So the bulls have some decent resistances in the mid 849s up to 850. And we're going to have to get above those hourly resistances to see any kind of follow through to the upside. The daily time frame is getting really tight, so we need to be aware that volatility is shrinking on Amazon, and that time decay and lack of volatility could eat up some options as we head forward. So the financial sector is driving the price to the upside here, and the S&P 500 is responding. So keeping an eye out here who's going bullish. Biotech bulls are seeing a bit of a recovery. No real strong individual names standing out at this point. So we could potentially be scouting some bearish entries if we look for SPY to reject from hourly resistance. Hourly 238.61 resistance on SPY. We'll see how the bulls react to that level, but a strong start first thing this morning in response to a strong XLF start, the financial sector. XLF resistance 25.02, hourly 20-period resistance. ACIA has been bearish the past few days on the daily time frame. Inside candlestick yesterday with a double low at 50.52. So that 50.52 is a must-hold level. We've been seeing lower highs on the daily time frame about 7 days in a row. Bulls must break 52.31 to break that pattern, but as of right now, it's all about that support of 50.52. So a potential bottom fishing play, if you make a bullish entry, you know to exit as soon as 50.52 were to break. That would be a clear exit point. And watching for the bulls to turn around the lower high pattern on the daily time frame. So MS trying to see some upside with the financial sector, trying to turn 46.32 into support. The low of yesterday is holding 46.04, and we need to see the hourly 20-period moving average become support. We are currently rejecting 46.46. So for the financial sector and for the S&P 500, it's all about the hourly 20-period moving average resistance. And for many names, that's the case. Look where Netflix just rejected from. 140.32 is the hourly 20-period moving average resistance. We just rejected 8 cents below that level. So look at these hourly time frames. Those are going to be our resistance levels on these bounce attempts after that weekday and a lot of individual names yesterday. NVDA continues to dump. We're getting pretty oversold on NVDA. We can be scouting a short-term oversold bounce. Hourly RSI. There's not really any support level in this range on NVDA to be looking for a bounce off of. 95s is where the next support level is. So we do need to be cautious as the bears are still in control. And it's always nice and easier when we have a bullish level to be looking for a bounce off of when we have oversold short-term conditions. So BABA, we are seeing some pullback here to start today, and we saw a bearish day yesterday. Middle Bollinger Band daily support is 102.35. The bulls really want to hold that level. Same thing with Amazon, where we have a tightening range forming on the daily time frame. Volatility is really shrinking up, and that Middle Bollinger Band, the bulls need to hold 102.35. If we lose it, we're looking down at 101.30. But as of right now, today looks like it's going to be a battle at that moving average support, which the bulls did hold the last test earlier this week. AGN. So AGN, the middle Bollinger Band on the daily time frame, is the key level to be watching, and we're currently holding it 243.65. The low of the day just bounced off of that, and we need to see the hourly moving averages become support. I'm looking at resistance of 245.64 and 246.47. We're testing those resistances right now as the biotech bulls are at the high of the day and making a pretty nice recovery from the action that we saw yesterday. But again, can't really be trusting this move on these names unless we see these hourly moving averages back as support. So here's XBI testing its hourly 20 period of 71.23. Key resistance test on XBI. MU bullish break. So interesting divergence between NVDA and MU, which makes me want to check what AMD is doing. AMD is bearish with a gap down open, just like NVDA is weak. So MU seeing some upside, trying to break out on the daily time frame. If we close above 25.22, that will be a breakout to end the week. And a break of 25.31 was bullish right now. So looks like we're seeing MU getting bullish action with AMD and NVDA getting bearish action. Certainly a big discrepancy from anything we've seen in terms of the correlation in this sector over the past month plus. So MU is breaking out. And the next resistance on the weekly time frame for MU, need to zoom way back a couple years. And that resistance is going to be at 26.63. So 26 psychological is the next resistance level. Need to be cautious on this move just because the sector is so weak. But as of right now, the MU bulls are in control. So PCLN, that upper Bollinger Band on the daily is 1740. So we are losing the daily upper Bollinger Band unless we see a big time turnaround for the bulls. And support right now is 1729 and 1726. So MU price target, thank you for that. That makes sense. CRM, 20 period, 5-minute resistance is 82.24. Oversold bounce attempt underway, but if we can't get over that 20-period moving average, we're not going anywhere. Bulls are still strong on the daily time frame. The daily middle Bollinger Band support is 81.39. That's the level the bulls want to continue to hold. And we're testing some hourly supports as well. So CRM, key 82.24 short-term resistance, and daily support is 81.39. So AMD seeing that gap down and further weakness as AMD, or I should say NVDA, is at the low of the day as well. AMD resistance is 1357, 1364. We're losing the daily middle Bollinger Band for the first time in over a month. That is now resistance at 1373. There's a gap to fill on the daily at 1314. And if we can't get over these 5-minute moving average resistances, the bears will remain in control. So biotech sector up at the high, testing the 20-period 5-minute resistance. We've got XLF in the financial sector on its way to test that resistance as well. 20-period 5-minute. GoPro, we're looking down at a key support test right now, and then we're looking down at $9 psychological support. And I want to keep an eye on NKE. NKE has a double top. NKE resistance 58.24 and 58.25, and if NKE breaks 56.68, we have a lower high and a lower low on the daily time frame. So a very clear double top at this point on Nike. Definitely worth keeping an eye on that resistance. Baidu off to a very strong start. Up at the high of the day. Daily chart, we have a bounce attempt trying to play out. We have resistance up at 176.79. And the 50-day moving average is 175.65 being tested right now. So at this point, it's a fairly weak bounce attempt after the dump that we saw on Baidu. And if we can't get over 176.79, there's potential that this is a bear flag on the daily time frame for Baidu. So that is the key resistance that the bulls need to get over to prove themselves. Win resistance is 185 and 101.33. Inside candlestick yesterday, so far an inside candlestick today. Watching the ranges reach an equilibrium after that gap up breakout. And a break of 99.74 would be a clear bearish signal, but I would not be surprised to see another inside candlestick on the daily time frame. Tesla trying to hold all 5-minute moving average supports, 250.46. And we're watching that high of yesterday, 253.28. Tesla's getting tight as well. Hourly resistance is 252.34. And watching the range of yesterday on Tesla as a bit of our guide. Remember yesterday we saw bullish action to start and then we faded a little bit. Let's see what kind of fade we get here today, and watching volume as we are pulling back down towards the low of the day. We are at the low of the day. Options are not available on recent IPOs for weeks. So you're not going to see Snap options for quite some time. PCLN is still in a tight range. We've got the upper Bollinger Band resistance at 1740. And the bulls are buying the dip off the low of the day at this point with some market strength. So not seeing PCLN downside movement just yet, but we have a couple of resistance levels to be watching in the 1740s. Cat bulls oversold bounce is playing out. 100-period moving average became support before the bell, and we're seeing follow-through. 95.96 is resistance, and we had that nice start to the morning here going on. We've got the hourly resistance being tested at 95.29, and the bulls want to close the day above 94.92, the 50-day moving average. But we can be scouting a bearish entry on CAT. If we think we're going to reject from this 20-period hourly resistance, the 5-minute RSI is 80, so if we were to jump right up to 95.96, that would be a potential area to be looking for a bearish entry, but keeping an eye on overbought conditions on this oversold bounce. NVDA is still down at the low of the day, so we're watching the 5-minute RSI down at 22 and the hourly RSI down at 25. But again, there's a lack of a clear support in this area to be making an oversold bounce play off of. Amazon bulls are trying to turn things around. So Netflix oversold bounce is playing out. We've got the hourly resistance being tested right now of 140.35, and the lower high pattern is in play if we cannot break 140.49. So we did just break that by a couple pennies. Obviously, that's not a convincing break at this point, just a couple pennies. So watching this resistance test right now, if the Netflix bulls were to see a new high of the day making a move towards 141, that would be a break of the lower high pattern on the hourly in a bit more convincing manner. So key resistance test right now on Netflix, but an oversold bounce playing out and a close above that 20-period hourly of 140.36. And the next resistance level we're looking up at is 141.26, previous support. So a key resistance test on Netflix currently right here, right now. GDX getting a higher low and a higher high with pre-market levels. Resistance is 2212. Daily time frame, lower Bollinger Band resistance is 2207. That's a very key test. That's the level I'd be watching today. Lower Bollinger Band daily resistance needs to become support. NVDA very likely to see a short-term oversold bounce at this point, keeping an eye out for a volume climax on the 5-minute. But after a quick 15-minute dump, bulls are going to be looking for a short-term recovery. Shop is very weak. All 5-minute moving averages are resistance. The daily time frame on Shop, we have pretty normal healthy consolidation at this point, but the bounce attempt after that consolidation the past couple of days has been very weak. Key support is 59.02. A break of 59.02 in the middle Bollinger Band is 58.27 with resistance 60.65, the high of yesterday. TWLO support from here is going to be the 50-day moving average down at 30.38. NVDA all depends on the time frame you want to hold and whether or not your options are expiring today. Obviously, time decay is going to be a big factor if that is the case. Watch this test of the low of the day right now. If we don't get a new low of the day here, we would expect the bulls to see an oversold bounce. So here's a key support test right now on NVDA, and you can also use it as a bottom fishing play. Low of the day, 96.61. Bulls looking for a short-term oversold bounce into the low to mid $97 range. It looks like the bulls just held a higher low, 96.61, 96.75. Still not done testing those levels, but those are the key supports to be watching. So GoPro, the key support on the daily time frame now that we're watching is down at 912. So we did break that level all the way down to 905. Watching how we close today relative to 912, but the bears have control on the daily time frame. Oversold bounce played out. We have now broken the higher low pattern, and we're looking at 912, $9, and there's a gap on the daily at 890. PLX, lots of volatility in that first 5-minute candlestick, and now the bulls are trying to head back up towards the high of the day. Holding that middle Bollinger Band on the daily of 103. Resistance is 115 and 117. And the bulls want to see more than 2.5 million shares traded today. Close above 115 would be bullish heading into next week. Key low of the day test on NVDA. So X seeing some oversold bounce play out. We're rejecting from the 20-period hourly. Again, I cannot stress this enough that these are the levels we're watching on everything. Netflix is rejecting from its 20-period. SPY is rejecting from its 20-period. And X is testing it here, 38.04. All about hourly 20-period moving average resistances. So NVDA scouting a potential bottom fishing play. 96.61 is a double bottom to the penny. So SPY cooling off a little bounce to start the day. We didn't get over. We didn't even test the hourly 20-period moving average resistance. And now we're consolidating back down towards the low of the day. If we lose 238.17 on SPY, we hit a new, or we lose all 5-minute moving averages, and we will hit a new low of the day. So GWPH strength continues. We've been watching those bulls really strong past 2 days. And here we are testing the high of yesterday, 131.39, and we did break it. Nice continuation for these GWPH bulls. If they can close over this upper Bollinger Band on the weekly, that's going to be very convincing. 131.71 is going to take a really strong day to do so. So XBI, let's see how we're reacting to the 20-period hourly resistance, 71.23, currently still doing battle with that level. So clearly the theme this morning, 20-period hourly moving average resistance is on watch. PCLN is back testing its upper Bollinger Band resistance. It's moving up with the price, so it's currently 1742 at this point. 1740, 1742, and 1748 are PCLN resistances. VRX continuing to show some weakness. The lowest price we've seen on VRX on this pullback the past couple of days is down at 1346. That's a very key support. We just had a bear break of the daily inside candlestick. NVDA, a new low of the day, but only by 4 pennies. Not convincing at this point. Definite battle going on in the 96.60 range. Bulls are trying to draw the line in the sand and see this oversold bounce play out. GoPro continued weakness, heading down towards the low of the day. NKE down 0.5% since I last mentioned that double top. Oversold 5-minute bounce attempt here on NKE, but that double top on the daily is a lower high compared to the weekly $60 resistance. Key support is 56.68 on NKE. PCLN up at the high of the day, so the bulls are still in control of PCLN. We'll see if we can keep that upper Bollinger Band on the daily. That would be fairly impressive if the bulls could pull that off. Tesla not too far above its low of the day. Not seeing a lot of strength follow through there. And Netflix rejecting from its hourly 20 period. So we did break resistance on the hourly to get that higher high, but only by 5 cents on Netflix. So we do still need to be watching that 20 period hourly resistance, 140.34. And again, these hourly candlesticks are not going to close for 40 minutes, so there's a lot of time left to trade. But our resistance levels are clear as NVDA oversold bounce is getting a little bit more momentum to the upside, testing exponential 5-minute resistances, and we're going to be looking to see if the bulls can get over these mid-97s where that exponential resistance is. Checking in on some commodities, we've got the dollar trying to bounce a little bit on the hourly. Gold is still very weak, just continuing lower highs, and we're down testing the low that we've seen on gold. So no follow through for the gold bulls, slim to no follow through for the silver bulls, still lower highs on the hourly there. Natural gas is holding up, and oil oversold bounce is trying to play out a little bit of a higher low, higher high here now on oil. So the precious metals are faring the worst on their bounce attempts. And oil trying to get some follow through. And the next oil resistance I'm looking at is up at 53 psychological resistance. Netflix testing that 20 period resistance again. Here's a high of the day test on Netflix. So that's a bit more convincing now, and we'll see if we can close the candlestick over that level. But that's a more convincing higher high now that we got that new high of the day just now. We have to keep in mind how drastic that dump to the downside was on Netflix yesterday. Hourly RSI hitting 18 and now cooling off as we're back at 50 on the hourly RSI. So JDST testing the highs of pre-market, 2164, and we just hit 2150. So bulls want to break that 2164 level. Look where we bounced on JDST. We bounced off of the 20-period hourly support, 3 pennies above that level. Big time turnaround, and we look at JNUG, and we rejected from that hourly 20-period resistance just below that level. NVDA, very weak bounce attempt at this point. We did not see much upside at all, and we rejected from the hourly exponential resistances. So caution to any bulls playing this oversold bounce. The bears are still in control. Another battle here down at the low of the day. New low of the day, but only by a couple pennies. The bulls are still trying to hold on, but the bears definitely have momentum. My hourly candlesticks close on the half hours. So my hourly candlestick opens with the bell and it will close at 10:30. Other people's are on the hour itself. I have always used hourly candlesticks on the half hour. That resonates with me because the bell rings on a half an hour and it separates pre-market from regular trading. Otherwise, you have a mix on the candlestick. The first candlestick of the day is half pre-market and half regular trading, and I don't like that. SPY new low of the day, losing all 5-minute moving average supports after the inability to get over the 20-period hourly resistance. Support on SPY is 238.01 and 237.85. Checking in on Snap, recent IPO. Look at those bulls go. Nice move on the Snap IPO. Continuation, all-time highs. Saw a lot of that strength on the 5-minute time frame in the first half of trading yesterday. Big upper wick showed a lot of profit taking yesterday, but the bulls are currently in control. I would expect some consolidation in the short term with how we have started the last hour and a half, including pre-market. So SPY back to seeing some weakness. Hourly 100 period support on SPY. We have held it the last two tests. And that again is down at 237.41. That's the next support I'm watching. So AMD is all out dumping with NVDA. Hourly RSI is 19, 5-minute RSI is 14, and finding a daily support. Gap fills at 13.14. Gap has filled. Next support is 12.60. Definitely worth scouting AMD for an oversold bounce. NVDA RSI, the 5-minute is down at 17. Hourly RSI is down at 23.22. So AMD is a little bit more oversold than NVDA. But the bears are in control. It's pretty impressive that the MU bulls are able to hold up well when the sector is getting crushed the past 2 days. AMD and NVDA. Some pullback in XLF, seeing some weakness. Tech sector back into the red slightly. APH bulls are holding on strong. Nice day for APH as long as we hold 650. And we did break the high of yesterday of 666, so resistance is 670. OWCP bounced right off support. That's a bottom fishing play, and you exit if 145 breaks on OWCP. We just bounced off support to the penny, 145 and 151. The low of today is 151. KR also seeing weakness first thing. It's trying to see a 5-minute oversold bounce play out. Resistance is 30.31 and 30.56. Lower Bollinger Band daily will be resistance as well, up at 30.87. Hourly RSI is not even oversold. We're just getting oversold. We're at 30 right now. So need to be cautious on looking for any bounce attempts, as the bears are still strong on KR. So X-Bulls bought the dip on the first candlestick, but we're seeing a lot of pretty high bear volume the past 15 minutes. We are back testing and rejecting from the middle Bollinger Band daily resistance of 37.82. Bulls need to close above that level to keep or to regain that middle Bollinger Band after losing it yesterday. Watching that tightening pattern on the daily time frame, we have our high and our low, lower high, and the bulls are trying to find a higher low. 37.24, 37.21, the lows of the last 2 days. But we are rejecting from the hourly 20-period resistance, just like we did at the high of the day yesterday in the first candlestick. We're currently doing that again, 38.03. These hourly 20 periods must become support for the bulls to prove anything. Netflix is still right at its hourly 20 period. So a lot of battles going on with that moving average. VRX new low, continuing to show weakness down at the low of the day. AMD trying to form a bullish reversal candlestick on the 5-minute time frame, keeping an eye out for a volume climax. So GDX, we had the low of the day. A new low of the day just hit. Support is 2162 and 2153. And if we can't get over the 20-period hourly resistance, bulls aren't going anywhere. We rejected from it in the first candlestick on the hourly yesterday. We rejected from it just now, 2204, by 1 penny. Bears are in control as long as that hourly 20 period continues to reject the price. AMD support is the low of the day of 1279. Support on the daily is 1260. Bulls are trying to confirm a bullish reversal doji on the 5-minute time frame for an oversold bounce. Last bounce attempt on NVDA rejected from the exponential resistance. Now AMD is giving these exponential resistances a test. MBLY next support, I'm looking down at 45.45 on the daily time frame. NKE continues to show weakness. Bears have been in full control all day. Tesla in a pretty tight range today, not a ton of action. Amazon 20-period 5 or 20-period hourly rejecting currently 850.36. So this isn't a dump on SPY by any means. And the bears want to see decreasing volume. We'll see if the Yellen factor at 1 p.m. Eastern is going to give us some increased volume. We'll have to take that into account. But as of right now, this is pretty contained consolidation continuing from yesterday. Still no red flags for the bulls on the daily chart. Obviously, we're in short-term bearish territory, but in terms of the daily uptrend, not in jeopardy at this point. Apple, we have a channel on the 5-minute time frame. 138.93 is the 100-period moving average support, and 139.31 is the 200-period resistance, which rejected the high of the day. And the hourly 20-period resistance, as I keep talking about, is right there as well, 139.27. Let's see if this NVDA oversold bounce finally getting underway. See how AMD responds. It too is in the process of an oversold bounce. NVDA key resistance is 97.31. That was the high of the last little first bounce attempt we saw. We cannot break 97.31. It's just another lower high. Oil oversold bounce continues. New low of the day was just recently hit on gold. Biotech bulls are still holding on, still testing that hourly resistance. Pretty healthy consolidation on the 5-minute time frame right now for the biotech bulls. ACIA inside candlestick getting very tight. Definitely worth watching. Multiple inside candlesticks on the daily. We should see a clear break. If not today, if we cannot break 52.31 on Monday, we will be looking for a clear break of this tightening range over multiple days. Tesla's heading back down towards the low of the day. Amazon's back in the red. GoPro at the low of the day. We have a double bottom at 904 currently on GoPro. That's a key support. So Apple, it's the clear range on the 5-minute time frame, 138.93 and 139.30. We have rejected from resistance, bounced off support. Moving averages are giving us our nice clear channel. NVDA bounce just broke the high of the last bounce attempt. A little bit more momentum here, and now we're looking at the 20-period 5-minute resistance, 97.95 and dropping. AMD, still battling its exponential, but we're seeing a nice bounce from the low of 12.79. Multiple percent bounce in just a few minutes. Exponential resistance is 13.20 on AMD. TWLO is down to the 50-day moving average support and falling through it. 29.75 is the next support level. But this is a very emphatic rejection from that hourly resistance, or I should say the weekly resistance, the middle Bollinger Band for the third week in a row. And the hourly time frame, the past 2 days, has just been all red candlesticks. We are now looking at 9 red hours in a row during regular trading on TWLO. The hourly RSI is down at 20, and the 5-minute RSI is down at 16. So it is oversold. And 29.75 would be a level to be looking at. NVDA, really strong follow-through. Key resistance test, 97.97 is the 20-period 5-minute. AMD resistance, I'm looking at 13.32. Oversold bounce in the sector. Bullish reversal candlesticks trying to form on the hourly time frame. PANW, absolute must-hold level, is down at 115 and 115.01. That would be a very clear bear break. So we had the high of the bounce attempt yesterday at 17.78. High of today, we got up to 17.93. But the bears are taking back over. Can be watching for a potential bottom fishing play at that 115 support. Ideally, we would reach it with oversold 5-minute conditions to give the bulls a bit more confidence. PCLN is holding on for the bulls. New low of the day on Tesla. We're watching Tesla's low of yesterday. Tesla's been very tight. 248.27 is Tesla support. We also have hourly support at 250.20 currently being tested. IWM weakness down at the low of the day. All 5-minute moving averages are resistance. We broke the low of yesterday, and the key middle Bollinger Band has held 2 tests in the past 6 days. This is the third test, 138.26. Bulls need to close above that level. Back test and rejection from all hourly moving average resistances on the first candlestick this morning. Key middle Bollinger Band test, if that level is lost, we're looking at 137.76. Dollar's still seeing a bounce, fairly weak on the hourly time frame compared to a 4-hour big pullback, and now this 2-hour little bounce occurring. But gold and silver still weak. Silver holding up just a little bit better than gold. Keeping an eye on the natural gas bulls who are trying to close the week strong, ideally above 280. And we'll see how much momentum this oil oversold bounce has. So checking back in on SPY again, no dump. It is weak. We're seeing that follow through from weakness. Yesterday, the 20-period hourly resistance still intact at 238.60, but we're not dumping. There's no red flags in terms of the amount of volume. And again, if you zoom out to the 10-day hourly chart on SPY, everything looks normal and healthy at this point. NVDA rejected from 97.84, just below the 20-period 5-minute resistance. So that 20-period 5-minute resistance is going to be key. 97.89 and dropping. New low of the day on VRX. Bears have been in control most of the morning. And this is the lowest price we've seen now on this pullback. Bear break of the inside candlestick occurred at 13.68. And next support is 13.16. Google, I'm looking at resistance of 848.91 on the 5-minute time frame, and for support on the daily, we're looking down. Must hold level is 841.44, and the middle Bollinger Band on the daily is just below that level. Hourly support, not much in sight, so down near 841 is the next support. SPY bulls giving another chance to turn things around. So we have the NVDA bulls still trying this oversold bounce. All about the 20 period 5-minute resistance at this point. Need a specific ticker on the futures to be putting into TradingView to be looking at. Not sure what the correlating ticker would be for the E-mini S&P 500s. And also which contract you're looking at. ES1. Chart looks pretty much exactly the same as SPY right now. We had the big bull day 2 days ago, and we're consolidating in a normal, healthy manner currently on the daily time frame for the S&P 500 E-mini futures on the daily time frame. And the red flag level for the uptrend would be 2349.50 being lost. XOM has been weak all day after the big upper Bollinger Band rejection yesterday. We're looking at the low of yesterday, 82.79. Support is still holding. But that upper Bollinger Band rejecting the price the past 2 days. So ESH 2017 looks pretty much the exact same as SPY on the daily time frame in terms. The only thing that's missing there is the gap up open. But we've got the normal healthy consolidation ongoing. The bulls want to see less volume than yesterday, ideally. And it's healthy consolidation. And the red flag would be a break of 2349.50. So very normal healthy consolidation currently on the daily time frame. PANW is very weak. We did break the high of yesterday by 15 cents and then pulled back, and we're at the low of the day, heading back towards 115 must-hold double bottom support. GEO checking out for some consolidation. Let's see here, the daily time frame pulling back, losing exponential daily supports potentially for the first time in months. The bears are continuing to consolidate. Obviously, it's normal, healthy consolidation at this point. The next target is 46.40, and the middle Bollinger Band on the daily is 45.15 and ascending rapidly. So at this point, it is normal, healthy consolidation, but the bears are in control in the short term. So we're coming up on these hourly candlesticks, getting ready to close. Another 10 minutes or so. So Netflix pulling back a little bit. That hourly 20 period, which closes in 10 minutes, is 140.35. We currently have an upper wick rejecting from that level, watching how we close relative to that level. 5-minute support is down at 139.92 and 139.84. If we lose all 5-minute moving average supports, we will look to the low of the day. As SPY is at the low of the day right now. Amazon fading a little bit. Nice day for WEED. Bulls want to see it close above $12. Resistance is 1204 and 1217. And the high of the day is 1205. So 1205 and 1217. And there's a very quick new low of the day on SPY. So SPY is still weak, rejecting, unable to get above the 20-period hourly. Our target is 237.41 support that we're watching. That is the next support level. It brought Tesla a new low of the day. Netflix still seeing that weakness with the rejection from the hourly 20 period. Nice trading by everybody on NVDA and AMD this morning. So SPY is weak. IWM following to the downside, never got over 5-minute exponential moving average resistance. And in fact, it's been lower highs on the 5-minute chart on every single candlestick for the past 40 minutes on IWM. PCLN testing 5-minute moving average supports. A lot of back and forth with the hourly 20-period moving average of 1736. And NVDA, the only support is the low of the day. The bulls are going to look to form a higher low compared to that level. Amazon heading back down towards the low of the day. Dollar is weak on this hourly bounce attempt. So gold is trying to form an hourly bullish reversal candlestick. Silver is trying to break the lower high pattern on the hourly. We're still watching those hourly 20-period moving averages on the miners. And they're going to update here in just over 5 minutes. So seeing a bunch of 20-period hourly resistance rejections. If Netflix loses 139.83, we have all 5-minute moving averages back as resistance. Checking in on Apple, it is still rejecting from the top of that channel. That's 3 rejections now from the 200-period 5-minute resistance. Facebook is down near the low of the day, checking the daily chart. Still contained and healthy. CMG, the next daily support is down in the 411s. Bulls are going to be looking to hold 411.62. CMG volume the past couple of days has been pretty minuscule. Biotech sell-off didn't occur yesterday when SPY was weak in the first half of the day, and then it occurred the second half of the day. But we are still seeing weakness. The high of the day was hit on XBI the first 15 minutes of trading on decreasing bull volume, and we've been pulling back. It's been contained pullback, but we have been consolidating for the past 30, 40 minutes. So watching XBI hourly resistance, we are rejecting from the 20 period, 71.22. Lots of 20 period hourly rejections. Amazon's approaching its low of the day. Still about $1 above it, but definitely seeing weakness. And we rejected on the hourly time frame from the 20 period hourly resistance, 850.24. So now with this confirmation on a lot of weakness on individual names from that hourly resistance, we know the bulls do not prove anything to us until they get over the hourly 20 period resistance. SPY 237.41 is the hourly 100 period moving average support that has held the past two tests in the past 6 days. And Snap is very strong. Snap has held exponential 5-minute moving average support for the past 2+ hours. Nice 10% move in one day for anybody that got in. CMG continued weakness. AMD still holding a higher low pattern on this bounce attempt. NVDA trying to establish a higher low at 96.81. AMD support is down at 1306. Google's at the low of the day. That CMG bear volume on that candlestick was pretty much over 33% of the entire day's volume up to that point. New lows on SPY, so very clearly the bears are in control in the short term. And we're seeing it weigh on these individual names. XBI is heading back down towards the low of the day. We'll see if they're able to hold green. XOM, bulls have to break 83.20 to break the lower high pattern on the 5-minute time frame. And we still have the low of yesterday as support, 82.79. So we now have updated 20-period hourly resistance levels. The candlestick just changed on my charts. And perfect rejection from the biotech sector, Netflix, the bull miners, S&P 500. Could make a whole big long list of names that rejected from their 20-period hourly this morning. Apple rejected from its hourly 20 period, but we're still perfectly in that channel on the 5-minute. Another low of the day test for VRX. Let's get this 5-minute RSI. The bears have been very strong. Hourly RSI is 25, 5-minute RSI is 20. Watching the low of the day, 13.22, as a potential bottom fishing play on VRX. But you want that stop loss just below that level, as the bears are clearly in control. But there's potential for an oversold bounce from these levels. RUSL weekly chart. Bulls ideally want to hold $89 today to keep that middle Bollinger Band on the weekly, but it looks like we're going to lose it. Bearish MAC decross on the weekly. A couple gaps to be looking at. There's a gap at 80.98. Need to zoom out a couple years here to get an overall picture. So this was an oversold bounce really playing out pretty much all of 2016 through now. So the overall trend is bearish, although it is a leveraged ETF, so obviously time decay is a big factor in that. But losing this weekly middle Bollinger Band is a red flag for the bulls, and we're looking down at that gap of 80.98 on the weekly time frame. Apple is trying to stay within the channel on the 5-minute time frame, but if we lose 138.93 support, we're just looking at the low of the day as the next support. After rejecting from the hourly 20 period. Tesla's down at the low of the day. Netflix down at the low of the day. So bulls proved nothing on this morning bounce to us. RUSS weekly resistance is 757, the middle Bollinger Band, and also looking at 697. So 697 and 757, oversold bounce is underway, and the bulls seeing nice follow through this week on increasing bull volume. GDX, if the bulls can't get over the hourly 20 period of 22.01, they don't show any strength. So support is the low of the day, 21.61, and that is the resistance level that rejected the first candlestick this morning. It's at $22 on the dot now. Netflix bears back in the driver's seat. New low of the day. CMG is still down at the low of the day. Apple close to losing those 5-minute moving average supports. So Netflix support is 139.05. That's a very key support level close to being tested. And the lower Bollinger Band on the daily is 139.31. We held that yesterday. If we close below that lower Bollinger Band, the bears are going to have momentum into next week. Don't believe you can short Snap. There aren't. I doubt there's shares available to short. That's why IPOs can run so strong for weeks. It's because there's no shares available to short right out of the open. No options and no shorting. And anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. NKE, one of the lead bears on my screen. The bulls are trying to hold that low of the day, 56.84. Netflix support is 139.05. The low of yesterday was 139.09, and the low of today is 139.20. So the bulls are clearly defending the low 139s. Miners are seeing some upside without the help of gold. But I don't trust the move until the hourly 20 period becomes support. NVDA 5-minute is getting very tight. I'm watching support of 96.81 and the 20-period 5-minute resistance of 97.48. AMD has already made a bear break. Weaker on the 5-minute time frame compared to NVDA. CMG 5-minute RSI is 26 and the hourly is down at 31. So I'm going to wrap up the morning webcam here. Everything we are watching has 20-period hourly moving averages. We're watching those resistance levels. S&P 500 is weak today, but it's certainly contained. No dumps, no big red flags for volume. We'll be watching as Yellen approaches at 1 p.m. how the market reacts there. We're likely going to see the biggest reactions in the dollar and gold, so we'll be watching those miners as always. GoPro down at the low of the day again, watching $9 psychological support. The bears have nice momentum in GoPro. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope you have a great Friday, and I'll be back shortly to continue chat room in the coverage in the chat room, coverage in the chat room.